everybody. Welcome to the most ill-conceived business podcast around. The Business is Bullshit podcast. I'm James Hornick. Joining me are two gentlemen who have quite possibly pushed us into the most ill-conceived topic yet, Jared Gibson and John Sarakis.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
All right. Love the foreign accents every time you guys kind of... I'm also curious. Jared swears we're not going to hear any birds chirping in the background while he's outside today once it's in
nice
post,
out.
but we'll see.
Can you hear it? Can you hear him right now?
Yeah,
I heard that one. Yeah.
yeah.
We heard
It's
it earlier.
hold on. It's a wobbler.
It is. It is.
I didn't know you were such a birder, John. All right. This week's episode 18, and I think this might be an ongoing theme we talk about. Value extraction is bullshit, Volume 1. This was originally going to be titled M&A is bullshit. We realized that's a terrible idea for a podcast. Mainly because you can't talk about M&A without jumping right into like how awful every aspect of private equity is, which as three gentlemen who sell to private equity firms would just get. Yeah,
It's not a good idea.
We've joked that we've lost more business from this podcast than we've gained. But here's the thing. When we were talking about it more, and I want to give a brief explainer on maybe the history of private equity and kind of where it is now from where it started, because it's not that private equity is bad or evil, but it's one specific aspect that some of the worst firms have levered into that give it its bad reputation around this. And also when we talk about value extraction, this happens in various parts of business. And that's why I think this is actually potentially we could do 3 or 4 episodes just on this topic alone, because if you ever wonder why everything seems to suck around you, if you're working in the business world, it's because like on some level, like this happens fucking everywhere. So I guess more specifically, value extraction really means like when businesses or investors pull wealth out of a system instead of improving it, right? So once upon a time, 20 years ago, we'll say, private equity firms, I think legitimately were great. The whole business model it was kind of a smaller part of the finance business. A lot of firms still operate this way, so I need to kind of say that aloud, where they would find businesses that maybe are good, but didn't have good operators. Maybe they're small, maybe didn't have a lot of business acumen, and they would pump not just money, but processes and actually make the businesses better. So providing value, adding value to the system, making the businesses more successful, themselves more successful, the investor more successful, the employee, like everyone benefited when you actually add value into a system, right? Now, you'd have to be living under a rock to not see what's happening nowadays, where they realize in a bull market with low interest rates that it's easier to just like debt upon debt. So instead of actually making the system better, we can buy firms, make those firms take on a ton of debt, use that money to buy more firms, make them take on a ton of debt, then try to sell these firms off. Meanwhile, they haven't actually improved anything, right? So it's just, you're just adding, and I actually had a pull stat on this, 56% of large bankruptcies in 2024, so liabilities over $500 million, were PE backed, despite PE comprising 6.5% of the US economy.
Whoa.
Yeah, think about that. So
That's crazy.
56% of the bankruptcies, while it's only 6.5% of the economy, because this is what they're doing. They just keep adding more debt, making those companies take. Then there's a whole private credit.
It's like one guy showing up to a village and just giving everybody like STDs.
Yeah.
That's the exact analogy I was going to use, John. That's crazy.
But value extraction, like it also, I mean, there's all the stock buybacks is another example of that. If you don't know how stock buybacks work, it's companies, instead of like taking their profits and putting them into better products or wages or whatever, they just use it to buy more shares of their own stock, which elevates the stock price because those executives are paid on what, or bonused on what the stock price is. So basically they get paid bigger and bigger bonuses without actually improving any operations. They just put the excess cash into buying the stock. That's another way of value extraction. Social platforms, I'd love to do an episode on and shitification. So like Facebook, Meta, Reddit, all those places that like built really cool businesses at first. Then when they hit their user cap, they just find more and more ways to monetize it and make it suck more. So the service itself gets worse over time and just cost anyways. So value extraction. And I guess on that note, I'd like to speak specifically to the worst practices we see, which I don't think anyone can disagree with. John, would you like to give us your first train wreck M&A story?
Yeah, so the first one, there used to be this fantastic restaurant. It was based on the Outback. It was actually called Outback. It's from the Tampa Bay market. And the saddest thing is Bain Capital bought in and just destroyed like all the ingredients and just literally diluted everything that was actually really good about that place. I had a lot of fond memories going as when I was a kid. And ultimately, now it's just like a shitbox chain restaurant. It actually had something that was unique, but that's the issue. These companies will buy in, and I knew people that were in management, they just kept squeezing it and squeezing it and squeezing it and squeezing it until there's absolutely nothing left. And then if you go to that or any of those, even Bonefish, that's also a local Tampa brand, they're fucking terrible. I mean, just absolutely awful, like Applebee's like restaurants. But when you got to see them in their infancy, like in the early '90s,
No more shitting
and
on Applebee's. Applebee's is still good. All right, I'll
no, are
shut up.
you
Keep going.
fucking kidding me?
Keep going.
Seriously?
We're not
Ah,
getting an argument about this. Keep going.
yeah, because there's no argument to be had. But so I mean that was actually my first experience of actually seeing something that what I deemed, like, all right, this is actually really good. I mean, it wasn't like, the highest end restaurant you'd ever go to, but there was like a lot of value there, and seeing it just absolutely get diminished because of greed was my first experience with it. So yeah, I can't stand when somebody just waters something down. And here's another thing. I've never seen something go all the way into the shitter and with this value extraction and then anybody ever really pull it out. Like once it's
No,
gone, it's pretty
it's
much
dead.
gone.
Yeah.
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 You actually reminded me of one I forgot. But Jared, give me an example. What do you have one real quick?
Yeah, I
Like
really
anything?
quick. Well, I mean, I think really. I want to go back to what you talked about
Okay,
earlier.
sorry.
I do believe that all of these companies come in and they talk about growing capabilities. They talk about building new products. They talk about improving systems internally, right, to the
Are they
faces of
lying?
the people. Yeah, they have to. Yeah, 100%. I believe that they're lying, and they know that they're lying. They know that what the end goal is. So I think that the company that's being acquired, people are going to make money on it. Obviously, we understand that the money is the end all be all for this stuff. It's the people though, the humans involved with these companies, like, and I've gone through it. I'll tell that story in a few minutes, but that's what sucks is that it's completely overlooked. And these people come in and smile fuck to the face of these employees and everybody and says, this is what we're going to do. And then it doesn't happen. And the complete opposite happens. So that's what sucks. But I guess the story that's like been in the media recently is the whole Google Windsurf OpenAI story where
Hmm.
OpenAI was in talks to acquire Windsurf, which is like an AI coding company, for $3 billion, and the deal fell apart. And Google immediately came in because Google just is grasping to try to keep up with OpenAI. Came in and basically bought out and brought in the from Windsurf their CEO and a bunch of the R&D people on the team, basically leaving Windsurf to the bones. And then I think Cognition, is that what it's called? Came in and bought the bones of Windsurf. And reading like they said that they bought Windsurf's intellectual property, product, trademark, brand, and talent, but didn't disclose terms of the deal. I mean, that's just, they're coming in and buying up parts, and then that Windsurf is no more. Like, it's a complete
Yeah.
bare bone. They strip the thing down, and it's, I think that's what you're starting to see more of it now, but it's just going to continue to get worse.
Is
$3
that value
billion,
extraction though?
$3 billion
I
is
know
what
it's crazy to have
OpenAI was
kind
going
of
to
money.
acquire
But
this
is
company
that
for.
really like value extraction? You know,
Maybe not
because
as
I look at
much.
value extraction as like really fucking the customers over. You know
Yeah,
what I
well,
mean?
that's
Like
my
where,
story.
like
That's
for
what
instance, like the
happened with, yeah.
examples, like the
Yeah.
in-shitification kind of examples, like where it's like you get everybody hooked on a drug and you just dilute it all the way down until it's nothing, and they're just like homeless in the street, just
Walking
scraping
around
through
like
trash cans
zombies.
trying to get a hit. Like
Yeah,
people on like Facebook or any of these others where you're really not getting anything from it unless it's the ads being served to you.
yeah, it's not a value. I agree. Maybe it's not a value extraction. Maybe I
Yeah.
should have saved that one to the end. But James,
Yeah.
you told me I had a quick story, and my personal story with
It's
value
on the
extraction
spot.
is not a
You
I was
quick
rose to
hoping,
the
story.
yeah.
occasion.
So I was hoping you had well, yeah. We'll come back to your longer story then. That's when you went into it. No, I think that, I guess in those, like some of the other examples and stuff I want to talk about, like how this stuff happens. I guess it would be better to kind of lead this in if Jared had a relevant story. So I'm gonna blame him for this, but some of it's like jargon. I forget, one of you guys just said something a minute ago, but like a lot of this happens because like right sizing, you know what I mean, and unlocking shareholder values, which are just code for people losing their jobs and businesses being gutted, and it's that's part of it. But I think the financial illiteracy is a big part because so much of it has to do with debt. You know what I mean? Like sometimes when it has to do in, I don't think that the average person, especially the average, because really I think, how should I say this? I have not talked to a single person as a recruiter who had lived through some sort of like M&A scenario, like that they weren't the owner, they weren't the person who benefited from it, who didn't like hate the company afterwards. It's like
Mm.
standard playbook that anytime some company gets bought, there's always going to be like they're always told how amazing things are going to be and how nothing's going to change. Everyone's heard that crap before, but then within 1 to 2 years, everyone's like jumping ship because it's like never the same.
I
And
have heard though positive stories that have come out of it. Like I've heard people say we love the company, like that are still
it's
all in on it, and
few and
it
far
is,
between.
there
So
are
few and far
positives.
between. Yeah. Because usually we're like, I don't know, whether it was a business that repairs a car or something, you go in and things change. You're like, hey, like, what happened? And like, somebody came in and bought us out, and it's just like, oh, all right. My brother works for a large, I can't tell this story. I'm gonna get him fucking fired. That's not happening. Shit. Happy I caught myself there.
That's impressive. You were to catch yourself real time on
Yeah, I
that one. That
know,
was
man.
good.
This is good. Yeah, these
I feel like
changes
you're
that are
growing up.
happening.
I feel like you're growing up. You're becoming
Yeah,
an
well,
adult.
Yeah.
so from Sesame
Well,
Street to Reading Rainbow.
I mean, I could talk through like what happened with the company I was at. I posted
Sure.
about this the other day, and you guys have heard this at nauseum, but 9 of our listeners haven't. We were so I ran marketing for an HR outsourced HR PEO company, and loved the company. Awesome company. Our leadership team was amazing. Like from the top down, like just good people. We had about 100, a little over 100 employees. Our clients loved us. We were a very purpose driven organization. Like open door. Like you could go in and talk to anybody. Like just a good company. And we were acquired. We had a private equity group above us, and the private equity group we loved too. Like so, there are good aspects of it, but they ended up selling us. And this larger company came in. I won't say the name of the company, and they smile fucked us. They came in, and it was all the stuff that we're gonna be able to do to help you, to help your clients, the technology, the systems, all this stuff. And it's like we felt like we had really good systems already. We were very forward thinking. Like our client experience was great. Our clients loved us, and we realized. I think, especially on the leadership team, we realized pretty quickly that it was exactly what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
Like we were the 40th acquisition of this company. They had basically acquired a bunch of distressed companies in the past. We were not distressed. We were Inc. 5000, and they referred to us in an all-team meeting where everybody was shitting their pants and scared about what was going to happen to them as number 40. They didn't call us by our company name. They referred to us as number 40. That was like the oh shit moment. And then from there it went. It was pretty crazy. Like I'm gonna try not to talk shit about this other company, but they were just
Do it.
I don't know, man.
Do it.
They
Come
were
on.
not. They were not good. They like the leadership from the leadership team. Like they would just say shit, and it would all be bullshit. Like they brought us back probably 10, 15 years in terms of technology and processes. We're like, why wouldn't you guys learn from what we're doing and what's working here? And they're like, no, not going to happen. Get on board or get out. Like all this stuff, and we started to lose people. We started to lose clients. And the thing that sucked is that they wouldn't let us rehire team members to replace the people we lost to support our clients. There was no shits given. And it was fucking terrible to watch like people on your team crying because they were working their ass off because they were working the ass off for a company that didn't exist anymore. Like what you loved doesn't fucking exist anymore. So we had to, as a leadership team, give our team members permission. Like, hey, it's okay to go elsewhere to look for other roles. It wasn't fair to these people. They'd given so much to this company, and they wouldn't let us rehire. And clients were getting pissed off. Clients were leaving, and it was just like everything that could go wrong did go wrong with that acquisition. I was moved off of my company and put on to a few other brands that I honestly could give two fucks about. And it was like I was sitting in front of a computer tied to my calendar all day talking about shit that I did not care about at all. So it was interesting going through the process. And it's it's good to know what I don't want to ever have to deal with again. And also like it's pretty fucked up to know that people like that exist that can just trample on people that are lower than them that are good people and not give a shit about any of it.
The
So,
saddest part of that is like I know those people where they'll give everything to like a cause or a company and they're like really good people. They don't need to own the company. They don't need to make a ton of money, but they need to understand that they need to get credit for what they're doing and they need to see some achievement based on like the output. And to see somebody come in there and just wring that thing like a dirty sponge and like all those people work gives purpose to some of these people and just watch them get, thrown to the side like that. That sucks, dude. That's
yeah.
tragic. Like in Japan, like people commit suicide when that shit happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
the crazy part, it's become like systematic though, because like without like knowing more the details and being one of those people, like undoubtedly their goal and their plan was to do all these like slash and burn, cost cutting, reduce headcount, hike the prices, have less people supporting the customer, whatever, because they wanted to make a fast exit. They thought if you're number 40, we can get all these firms together, do the same thing, and then we can resell it to somebody else. But the problem is it's not even working anymore. Like the private equity market in general is like like it's potentially another debt crisis if you're listening to all the experts, because like it only can get pumped up like so big, and so it all happens for nothing. Like these companies that actually were good to work for at some point or good to be at kind of get gobbled up like this, stripped, and then for what's the outcome? Just one less good company out there.
What does this mean long term though? Like when you think about the long term, because it's changed. Like you said, private equity used to be, M&A used to be. Like what does that
Yeah.
mean long term for business and where we are
I mean,
today?
I don't think it's not sustainable is the thing. So I hate to say the problem's going to correct itself because like there's going to be a trail of dead bodies and dead companies like before that happens. But I mean,
Still a
if you
correction.
follow, yeah, it's still a correction. Like I think people learn from it. Like there are. I think I read it's like there's like in the last years like or maybe 2024 there's like 35% less like PE funding things and acquisitions happening than there had been in like the previous years, something like that. So it is kind of catching up with them. And I think people are realizing too that like from the investment side, it's you can't get your money out like you could like other investments. So it's like it was the reason why this happened is because it seemed like wow, you can crush it by putting your money into private investments versus like the regular markets. You can get outsized returns, but it's not really the case anymore. So
Mm.
I think so that's going to slow down, but it's they're just there's a lot of copycats out there that will still kind of run this playbook. And that being said too, the whole slash and burn, I mean it's funny, I'm rewatching Mad Men, right, and this show is happening. That show, like, this isn't some new concept either when you look at it from a high level. Like merging companies and slashing them and is something that has been kind of around forever. And it's but
I should move that show back up. I've never
yeah
watched that show. I should watch it. Add it to the list.
it's a commitment. These are
Seen a ton of clips. I think probably we've had some of our clients that we work with, some PE firms and, good and bad. And one was the worst was this distribution company. And they were doing, I don't know, like a couple $100 million a year. And there were two owners that were like best friends. And PE came in and turned these two guys against each other, like just sucked everything out of the company. I mean, it was just awful to watch all that happen and just see it from like the outside. And then of course you hear people on the periphery just telling the stories as it just continually just got chopped and chopped and chopped. And the crazy thing is I don't fully understand it, but the from running this company into the ground, the PE guys still made their profit and their money. Like I don't even understand how that even happened or whatnot, and I don't believe that's something that I misheard, but it's crazy. But I think there's people that just look at the world differently. There's people that look at the world of like, hey, what can I build? What can I create?
mhm.
And there's other people that just say like, what can I get?
Well,
And
there's two ways they'd make their money out of it. One is like flipping it, so suckering someone else to take the take the investment off their hands, and the other is like they're running the board. They could suck the profits out of it while using like making it take on debt, which they don't have to take responsibility for to pay whatever they need to for like expenses and whatnot. So there's a lot of
how do they not
financial
take on the responsibility for it? Like, doesn't somebody usually have to personally guarantee? Like, who gets saddled with that debt?
the company they purchase. That's the
Just the
scam.
entity.
That's what
So the
yeah
entity has really good credit, and then they just go ahead and put it on the entity. They pull all the money
Yes.
out, and they're like, "Bye."
Leverage buyouts. That's how it works. They
That's how
basically
leverage buyout works.
the PE firm does not take on the debt responsibility the subsidiary company does. So they and then but they can use that cash since they own the board to do whatever the fuck they want with it, which is buying more companies and then making those companies take on more debt and continue and so on and so on. So when you can write checks that you don't have to be responsible for yourself and control where that money goes, I mean, there's a lot of ways to suck money out of the system like that. So
There has
um,
to be the ride has to end at some point because word gets out that this firm is doing that. You know what I'm saying? Like
so many
it,
firms doing it, dude. I
yeah,
mean, that's
yeah,
that's the problem. The problem is it's become so normalized. You know, that's just how capitalism works in the minds of some people now. You know, and you
yeah.
know it doesn't. That's part of the problem. Like value extraction has become so commonplace that it's just expected. You know, people aren't turned off by it. I mean, the thing that's going to kill it is the thing itself. Like at some point, because what's happening now is because there's only so many good companies out there to buy, so they're buying crappier companies that are worse investments that are going to be harder to sell and harder to kind of do this stuff with. And yeah, it's a fucking mess.
I talked to one of our PE partners the other day, and agency world, I love recurring revenue. I mean, and they said that they're buying tire. No, no, I'm sorry. They're buying pavement companies because of the recurring revenue because they get parking lots get paved every 5 years.
Yeah,
Like that's not to me recurring revenue. Recurring revenue to me is like a gym membership monthly or something like that. But like that's kind of what you're saying, James. Like they're literally
yeah,
stretching it as far as they can go, and I'm assuming to see if that works. But yeah, I'd like to see like if there's a bubble or whatever this fallout is. That means they would have to be backed by something, and the market would just have to dump, right? Essentially, loans that they couldn't pay
yeah,
back.
yeah.
And is that what's happening?
It's people think it's going to happen. It's impossible to predict like when those fall apart, but like, it won't be like a 2008 style meltdown. But yeah, it could
Yeah.
be like a next mini debt crisis kind of unraveling at some point. So, but anyways, back to so yeah, that's something that could and then we'll have to deal with because you know everything gets passed on to the consumer and everyone else and the effect of that what it does on our economy. Um, but yeah, no, that's the thing is like I used to when I heard of private equity the first time, you know, a decade or 2 decades ago, I thought it was like just a kind of a cool thing. Like, oh, you can invest in businesses and actually make them better. And the thing is, there are a lot of private equity firms still doing that. We partner with a lot of great ones that actually acquire firms and actually there's a lot of companies don't know what the fuck they're doing. No offense, like they had a great idea, there's a family business, they don't have proper operators and those kind of organizations can definitely benefit you know from the good firms out there that still do it. It's just that when someone ultimately what happened in my mind is when someone recognizes a loophole like the big debt leverage buyout loophole then everyone's going to exploit it and so many bad actors kind of enter the space and yeah so and
How
everyone else
much?
has to
How
deal with it.
much? How much of like if you think about all the stuff and the layoffs that happen after that for no reason, like they're laying people off for no reason, right? Because they weren't part of
Mm.
they. A lot of the layoffs happen after acquisitions for no reason. It was all part of the plan, right?
Oh, okay. It was all part of the plan, but yeah, I mean, there's
It
a
was all
reason.
part of the
It's to
plan.
yeah
Oh
save
yeah,
money.
yeah, yeah, 100%. But I guess how does that? Is there a legal angle there? Like like just firing people for cause if they're not taking the buyout? Like I don't know. I guess I'm somewhat
I,
naive to it because I stayed on as long as I did with the company that acquired us.
what did you get fired for cause?
Mm-mm.
No,
I
that's what I'm
started my
saying.
own
So I
thing,
mean, yeah, but I mean, to me, I
but a lot of
think
people were laid off. A lot of people were laid off. They're still
yeah,
going
I
through
mean,
rounds of layoffs.
I mean, it's the thing is like I mean, some level of whenever let's say there's a good merger that should happen. That's I mean, you're still going to have some level of redundancy, which is I
Yeah,
think people can understand. It's but in these situations, it's to like the point John was making earlier. You can cut customer support way deeper than you should. You know what I mean to make the service actually shittier for people using it. And you can try to justify that by saying you're making redundancies. But really, you're just like making the product of the company suck more, and which affects people who are working at those companies, obviously. So
it's a pretty big company now. We actually do some business with them. We're essentially we buy advertising from them, but they just did a pretty big layoff. And I talked to our former account manager that was over there, And he's like, "Hey, man, should we keep buying, advertising with you guys?" And he's like, I wouldn't fucking do it." I was like, "Really?" I was like, "Are you just being bitter about the layoff?" He's like, "No." He's like, "Let me tell you what's going on." He's like, "They got rid of all of the account managers because the account manager is saying, hey, these ads aren't working for our clients." And they're like, "All right, let's get." They literally got rid of all the account managers, and they took all the salespeople, and the salespeople are now the account managers. And salespeople are notorious for being the
Yeah.
worst account managers
Yeah.
ever.
Why do you need two people on one account? You just use one
Yeah.
on one account, you know?
Yep.
Well,
Exactly.
that's the other thing. I think a lot of these, and I'm going to speak to my experience. The leadership team at the company that acquired us used to work for just a small company, right? They started small, and I think that they just grew too fast through acquisition that they got so big that they were still running old playbooks that work for smaller companies on this massive organization.
Yeah.
And there was so many people that were in the wrong seat with that company. And there was a lot of really talented people that were far more talented than the leadership team. There was making all the calls like puppets from their ivory tower, people that were 10 times more. The company left the people in place that were very smart and didn't use them to their potential to actually become a good company. It's a shitty company now, right? People, anybody that I talk to that uses that company is not happy with the service. But it's crazy to me though that they're not. That these companies are. Is it too lazy? Is it broken process? What is it that they don't look at the value and the talent that they have currently sitting underneath them and strive to put those people in the right seats? That's another aspect of this that was crazy to me.
And I think there's a signal real quick that when this is happening is this word gets thrown around all the time, and it's EBITDA. If everybody
it was an
starts
EBITDA
saying,
play. EBITDA.
Dude, if everybody just
It was
saying
all it
EBITDA,
was.
EBITDA. Well, what about EBITDA? You're like, all right, get out of that company.
That's what
I mean,
it was.
it's
For them, it was an
literally
EBITDA
the worst.
play. They said it. Their leadership team
That's what I'm
always
saying.
talked
Literally,
about
they will
EBITDA.
say it all the time. And when you're hearing that, it's not profit. Profit's like, okay, all right, hey, yeah, we got to make a profit, otherwise we're not in business. We're just as a club, right? But yeah, when EBITDA is said, get the fuck out.
Yeah,
It's
and
funny
it
because
was said.
what I want to jump in with is that's also one of the reasons why this happens is the financial literacy, right? So it's by using the people doing the acquisition or whatever can use financial jargon and convince the people getting bought that this is an important metric. You haven't speak over their head. Oh, you don't know how this works, and you don't know how this, because typically that person doesn't know enough to push back or understand why this is bad for them. You know what I mean? So like you could be an operator of a business, you could be great at running a manufacturing firm, but you're not a fucking CFO. You know what I mean? You might not have anyone on your staff that can better explain to these people trying to buy you out, and you don't see it coming. So it's, I hate to say ignorance, you know what I mean? But it's definitely, I guess on some level it is, but like how much do you expect the average person to know about, finance when it's outside of their individual realm as
I got a funny story.
business owner?
Funny
Yeah,
story.
lay it on us.
So this company acquired us, and they had their big all company
Is this
holiday
the same
party.
company or a different company?
Same thing. I've only been through it
Okay.
once, thankfully.
Okay.
And they had their all company like holiday party down in Orlando, at this big hotel. They decked it out to the nines. It was a fun event. Like people had a good time, but I think that there was a lot of people that were there that were so mad because of something that happened. And so we get there, and there's a stage and there's dancers. On the side of the stage, there's this blocked off, roped off area, right? And it says outside, VIP executive leadership only in this section. So if you were me, for example, like I wasn't allowed in that section. And people were walking by taking pictures of the sign, and I'm looking at everybody that's inside of this fucking area. And I'm like, you're all pieces of shit. Like you guys are buying up all these companies, and then you think you can sit in your little VIP section and not mingle with everybody that probably has questions for how you're running the business.
Dude, that is so slimy. So they created like
So
this
bad.
like hierarchy, elitism, like class separation between the haves and the have-nots.
Dude, it was crazy to see that. Like people were
That's so
so
stupid.
fucking mad.
So
People
dumb
left.
of them
People
to do.
left after that. Like they stayed for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
They saw it and they're like, "There's other things that we should be doing right now instead of dealing with these assholes."
Yeah,
It
Merry
was bad,
Christmas.
Can you imagine like how fucking tone deaf you have to be to have a VIP executive only section at your company-wide holiday party. It was bad.
No, dude, that is so crazy. Huh? How'd you get in? Did you have to like have a badge? Like, what was the signifier?
I think it's just like they know who you were, I guess. I mean,
Oh,
everybody knew who the executive
Jesus
team was.
Christ. Man,
Yeah.
wow. Oh.
I was gonna say
That was gonna be a funny, happy story. That's kind of fucking sad.
None of
tragic.
Jared's stories about his buyout were happy. So
All
I
right.
don't know what you were expecting.
Hey, I started Outworks. I got to moonlight as an entrepreneur and started
that
Outworks
is actually,
from it because I didn't want to deal with
the
this shit anymore.
That's actually the positive outcome I wanted to talk about. Maybe we can kind of hit this at the end. The other thing, because you were talking about like phrases you hear, and you guys both mentioned EBITDA. The other one is maximize shareholder value. Whenever you hear that shit, get the fuck out. It's always like, because that basically means we're going to cut all costs, make everything suck in the name of getting our stock price valuation higher, which is like how I don't think it's actually worked out for them. But like, I think another example I thought of, I didn't think of this until you started talking when you're talking about your Outback or whatever it was, John. Southwest Airlines. They're still a public company per se, but it was Elliott Investment Management bought out, like I'm looking at here, 11% stake a year ago. And anyone who's followed Southwest for the past year, they basically pissed away, 40, 50 years of goodwill they had, bags flying free and everyone being in the same section and everything.
Have you noticed the commercials?
No.
Have you seen the commercials on TV? They're trying to spin it like it's a happy, good thing where people are like, oh, look, we can have our own assigned seat now. And people are all celebrating and everything. It's like, that's not what people loved about Southwest. Like they're trying to spin, they're dumping a lot of money into marketing.
And I wasn't a huge fan of Southwest to begin, but I understood the appeal. They were different. They were notably different than every other organization out there. There was definitely a vibe to them. People who like were fans of it, but they're turning themselves into like a shitty version of a regular airline, right? Like there's no reason.
The worst.
It was all in the name of maximizing shareholder value, because let's charge more, let's provide less, let's make the service worse for anyone else, let's extract value any way we can to get the stock price up.
I remember the first time I flew Southwest, my early 20s, I had a job. I was like flying all over the country for like another marketing company. And the first time, because I would fly it was Continental before they merged with United, and then I had to fly Southwest. And the line thing, when I walked up, I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Right? Because you're like kind of like treated like cattle and so on and so forth. But here's the thing. A lot of people don't realize that their flights are actually on time more than the other flights with assigned seats, because everybody's just going in, and rather than the ordering system. But I used to hate Southwest. I actually, living in Chicago, flying through Midway, I ended up flying them all the time. Actually, I really liked them. And then now to watch these little bastards whine and bitch and complain, and they're literally going to ruin something that was really unique. And if you actually want to hear a cool founder story, look up the guy that created Southwest and how they did it. Just guy would chain smoke cigarettes in his office until he was like in his 90s, still being a CEO. That's just got some cachet in my book. But in any event, I think that's probably the closest example of what's happening right now. That's going to probably affect the 9 listeners of our audience for sure.
There was I gotta go with Southwest Airlines. This was a couple of years ago. I heard their former CMO from like the 2000s speak at an event, and it stuck with me like years later. He was talking about how anyone who says the customer is always right, he's like, that's bullshit. And you have to stick up for your employees, right? And they had a situation at the gate, like some customer was being a jerk and being obnoxious and like just standard, like people just rabble rousing, maybe drunk, who knows. And then put in a complaint saying that the gate attendant did something inappropriate and screwed them over and blah, blah, blah. I was trying to make a whole stink, whatever. So he's like, yeah, we investigated. We talked to everybody who was working in that crew. We talked to everyone who was in security. And we responded back to the customer with a letter saying that we are banning you for life from flying on our airline. We did our due diligence, and we do not believe your version of the events are correct, and we don't want you on our airline anymore. Yeah. So,
That's sticking up for the employees, though. Dude, that's loyalty. People will get paid less, and they're going to have a happier job for that. All that shit's gone.
Yeah, they won't do that anymore. Different company.
Do you guys know Apt Furniture?
Yeah.
James, you probably do.
Yeah.
So you talked about the customer's not always right. Bob Apt, and if you've ever been to this, John, it's in Glenview.
I've seen them. Yeah.
It's an incredible place. It's like
if you're in Chicagoland area, it's the place to get your electronics. They'll match the price. They'll deliver
Yeah.
it to your door, and their showroom is just massive and enormous. It's
Massive.
like
And it's fun. It's like going to Disney. It's like you could just walk around and look at shit for like hours. And there's an area for our kids that love to go to, whatever. I won't talk about kids anymore. Sorry, James. But Bob Apt has the saying, and it's plastered everywhere. Like, the customer, what shit. The customer's always right. The customer's always right is something like, as long as it's a reasonable request. Like, the answer is always yes. Shit.
That's super diluted.
Great story. Great
Story,
story,
yeah.
Way to knock that one out of the park.
Impact, yeah. Like, the customer's always right, question mark? Yeah.
And this is great company to go visit. I'm going to go to
I got it.
All
I
right.
got it. Okay, let's do this again. The answer is always yes to any reasonable request. And if you've ever been there, their customer service is awesome. It's like people talk about it all the time. Everybody's got their guy or their person at Apt that they know to. Oh yeah, you're going to Apt. Oh yeah, reach out to so and so. I'll send them a text and let them know that you're coming in. Like, a lot of people have somebody there, and it's the same thing with, like, if you look at customer John, your neck of the woods down in Florida, Disney, same thing. Disney knows how to do it.
Oh, I thought you said people have a person
Customer.
at Disney. Yeah, dude, I can't stand Disney though. I mean, it's just like, I don't know.
I need nobody in Florida. I feel like everybody in Florida doesn't like it, but that has nothing to do with M&A. Let's continue.
I do think, though, that, Jared, you actually hit on the fix. I don't know if it's really a fix per se, but like coming out of this is that, every time a company dies, like, it's an opportunity for another one to pop up. Like, Jared, you started your company, good for you. And I think that the next generation of entrepreneurs and business owners can learn from the mistakes of people who fuck themselves over by getting in business with the wrong people or taking the wrong investments or merging with the wrong firm. It's just unfortunate that, like, there's most of the economy out there. Most people listening to this, most people are not business owners. They just want to be employees. They just want to show up to work at a good place, make a good wage. And they don't have any say when this kind of stuff happens at the place they work with. And, like, searching for a new job is very, very disruptive to your life, having to make that kind of switch. And it's always the consumers, the employees, everyone else is left holding the bag when someone makes a poor decision or someone decides to screw over some other company by pulling this kind of shit. So
I would love to say that you're right, and I hope that happens. But at the end of the day, dude, greed is still going to be greed. Money is still going to be the driver of all of this, and I don't see anything changing. I think maybe the way that they do it changes a little bit, but I just still think that the greed will stay at the top.
I think that greed, though, is an opportunity for the non-greedy businesses to really take care of their employees and
say greed is good. You're supposed to say greed is good.
I disagree. I think that's a huge opportunity, because when people say, oh, hey, you need to go over to this company, because this is how they treat us. Like, and James, I'm sure you can attest to this. Like, it's so easy for those people to acquire great talent, right? Because it's a good company to work for. They take care of their people. Now, granted, that is only a blip in time, and it's only a matter of time on the horizon before they get extracted, for all of their value. But just enjoy that while it lasts, and then you need to go find those oases, and just stay away from the shitty companies. And also, kind of to James's point again, there's a huge opportunity for an airline to come in there and do something that is inherently unique and different, like Southwest did. Like, this is a huge opportunity, and they're just going to be trying to trade off of the terrible color scheme of Southwest and their brand, and it's going to go to the wayside.
Jared, I would agree that value extraction will not go away, but I think that each particular playbook of it has a shelf life. Meaning, people realize that a lot of these, like, people cashed in 10 years ago in every single play like this, but people are finding out now, like, the leverage buyout playbook isn't going to work in every case, So it'll be some other shit. Like, we're not going to run out of things to rant about in this podcast. Someone will figure out some other bullshit way to fuck everyone over. But yeah, that's what I'm looking out for this week.
I would love for somebody in the M&A space that makes it this far. You would be, in essence, listener number 10. So you could be our first double-digit listener that gets this far to rip apart everything that we're saying and say why they disagree with all of this. It'd be fun, because I could learn from it.
Yeah, right.
Hey, I learned a lot today. I learned a lot.
Hey, real quick though, I've met some real shitty business owners and people to work for just over the years with some clients, and how some of them have referred to their employees. I remember there was this one company where there was like picture days, like, look at all these fucking convicts. I was like, Jesus Christ. They're like, look at them. He's like, these guys have served some serious time. I'm telling you, right? There was another guy. It was like a call center, and this lady came in or something, and she, dropped something off at his desk, and he looks at it. He looks, he's like, he's like, looks like fucking Pam wants to become a cubie. And I was like, what's that? I was like, well, what's a cubie? He's like, yeah, it's fucking losers that sit in all the cubicles out there. They don't have the edge offices. I was like, Jesus, fuck, man. The way some people just talk about them. Anyway, those are my closing thoughts. Work for somebody that gives a shit.
Yeah, there you go. We'll call this one over. I think Jared's outdoor Wi-Fi is taking a crap, but that's okay because we're just about done for this week. And Value Extraction is Bullshit Volume 1. I do think we have 2 or 3 more volumes out of this, but I don't know if we'll do it that consecutively. But love it. Anyways, that's a wrap for episode 18 of the Business of Bullshit podcast. Catch us on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. James Hornick, Jared Gibson, John Soraka signing off, reminding you that business is bullshit.
Later, y'all.